بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we're continuing now and we're on the section of fiqh, and we took the fiqh of salah and now we're going to revise fiqh of at-tahara. When it comes to fiqh of at-tahara, we will start with mainly wudu, which is the reason why at-tahara normally comes. So the first thing when it comes to at-tahara that we're going to talk about are the conditions of al-wudu, shurutu al-wudu, the conditions. And we mentioned the difference between a condition and a pillar is that a condition starts before till the end, whilst the pillar is only in the action, and the condition is continuous, whereas the pillar is only one small section, one small part of that action. And the conditions of wudu are 10. So how many were there for salah? 9. But the shurut of wudu are 10. Shurut is the plural of the word. What's the singular? Shart. La, who says sharat? Sharat means something else. Sharat with a fatha and a ra means alama, sign. And the plural of sharat is asharat, i.e. asharatu sa'ah, the signs of the hour. So it's shartun with a ra, with a sukoon and the ra. And it has two plurals, shurut, which mostly in our books is shurut, but sometimes in other books it says shara'it. So you might hear that as well. So just to clarify, so that you know what that word means when you hear it. So that's how many words? We have asharat, shurut, shara'it. 3 different meanings. Well, 2 different meanings, but 3 different words. So asharat is the plural of the word sharat, which means alama, sign, and shurut and shara'it are the plural of the word shartun. No. So these conditions, al-Islam wal-aql wal-tamyiz wal-niyyah, the first 4, Islam, sanity, tamyiz and intention, then these are straightforward. Number 5, continuous intention, so that one does not intend discontinuing it until one completes ablution. What that basically means is that you have the intention of wudu from the beginning till the end. Halfway through you don't say, oh, I'm going to stop. Right? If you have that intention, you say, right, I'm stopping, and then after a minute you're like, oh, you know what, I might as well just finish it now. No, you've made that intention to stop, then you have to start again. So that's what it means. It doesn't necessarily mean that every second you have to think in your head, I'm doing wudu, I'm doing wudu, I'm doing wudu, I'm doing wudu. And if you daydream, your attention's not there. It doesn't mean that. However, if you do think of that and throughout the whole wudu, you acknowledge that I'm doing wudu and I'm doing act of worship, that's recommended. Well, it's like salah, right? You can pray the salah, but if your mind goes elsewhere, it's not the same as somebody who's praying the salah with full attention. So it's similar to that. Number 6, وانقطاع موجب الوضوء, the ceasing of the action that nullifies the ablution. So making sure that whatever nullifies your wudu, that is completely stopped. For example, if you're urinating, you make sure that every drop stops, then you do your wudu. Otherwise, if it's still coming out, then you can't do wudu at that time. I think wastinja, cleaning the private parts after using the washroom with water or clean dry objects. Water is known as istinja, and using clean dry objects is known as istijmar. And it's permissible for you to basically, back in the day it was rocks and so on, but nowadays tissue. But we're going to talk a bit more about that later on, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. I believe the Shaykh does mention the conditions of how to do it and when to use it. Let's have a quick look. He mentions it at the end, so I'll mention the conditions of it and so on at the end. Number 9, removing from the skin anything which may prevent the water from reaching it. So anything, whether it's Tipex, paint, anything which will block water reaching the skin, then that would nullify the wudu, or that will make the wudu not accepted. Why? Because water does not reach the skin. Condition is the water has to reach the skin. As for henna is fine. But nail, what do you call it? Varnish, nail polish, whatever you call it, right? That blocks the water, so that wouldn't be allowed. And I remember last time a lot of people asked questions about other things. And the rule is this: if water can reach the skin, it's fine. If it doesn't reach the skin, then no. But henna is fine because it doesn't block it. It just colors the skin. It doesn't block the water reaching the skin. Number 8, the water must be clean and permissible to use. So it must be clean. With the Arabic students, tahur, if you guys remember, we took that on the weekend. Basically, clean water. It can't be najis. It can't be any impurities in there. And it must be permissible to use. It's not something, for example, you've stolen. Right? It has to be halal, basically. Number 9, remove from the skin anything which may prevent the water from reaching it. Oh, read that one? No. Number 10, the prayer time is entered for the one who nullifies the ablution continuously. This 10th one is an extra one. For somebody who nullifies his ablution continuously. So for example, some people have an issue where drops come out the whole day. So what does that person do? Because you can't just do wudu and a second later it's broken, then he does wudu again, then it's broken, then he does wudu again. So for that person, the ruling is, and it's the same for a woman that has istihada, she's bleeding, but it's not part of a menstrual cycle, it's like excess blood. What they do is, when the time starts for that particular salah, that's when they do wudu. And then they can pray that salah. Once the next salah starts, then they make wudu for that. For each salah, they make wudu once the time has entered. Then after that, if it breaks due to that reason, it's fine. You don't have to. You don't have to make up your wudu for that. What's it called in English again? Incontinence. In Arabic, it's called salasul bawl. Salasul bawl. Okay, these are the recommended acts of cleanliness. So not true with wudu, but these are known as sunanu al-fitrah. The recommended acts of the fitrah. Fitrah meaning these are natural actions of cleanliness that every single person should be doing. So number 1, circumcision. 2 to 5, trimming the mustache, clipping the nails, plucking the armpit, shaving around the private parts. And I mentioned the statement of Anas radiallahu anhu, which shows that you shouldn't delay more than 40. After 40 is haram. Even 40 is a lot. That's not something you should take it up to. It should be either weekly, every fortnight or something. 40 is like, it's like the bare, in the worst case scenario, okay, up to 40. Number 6, growing the beard. Right? Growing the beard is obligatory. And it's actually from the fitrah, the natural actions that a person, naturally, what differentiates between a man and a woman, we look at their face, it's the beard. Even if you look at animals, lion, lioness, what's the difference? The mane. So a person who shaves a beard is a woman, basically. Number 7, using the siwak. Using the siwak is recommended at all times. So sunnah recommended all times, 24/7. But certain times it's more emphasized. Like before doing wudu, the Prophet said, لَوْلَا أَنَ شَقَّ عَلَى أُمَّتِي لَأَمَرْتُمْ بِالسَّوَاكِ عِنْدَ كُلِّ وُضُوء. If it wouldn't have been made, it wasn't for the fact that it would be difficult, I would have commanded my ummah to do the siwak before every wudu. And then the Prophet said the same thing for salah. لَوْلَا أَنَ شَقَّ عَلَى أُمَّتِي لَأَمَرْتُهُمْ بِالسِّوَاكِ عِنْدَ كُلِّ صَلَاةٍ. That if it wasn't for the difficulty, then I would have commanded them to do the siwak for every salah. And also entering the house, reciting Quran before reciting the Quran, when you wake up, when the smell smells, when the mouth smells, and before death. And before death, that's what the Prophet did. He was on a deathbed, and with Aisha anha, and her brother was there, the Prophet was pointing at the siwak, and Aisha understood and gave him sallallahu the siwak, and then he passed away. Obligatory acts of wudu. So these obligatory acts of wudu are known as furud of wudu, plural of the word fard. These actions are obligatory. These are the main things. Other than it are from the sunnah actions. Okay, basically. So what are they? All of these 6 are mentioned in one ayah in the Quran. Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 6. Surah Ma'idah, ayah number 6 is all mentioned. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who believe, إِذَا قُمْتُمْ إِلَى الصَّلَاةِ, if you want to get up to pray the salah. Number 1, فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ, wash your face. Okay, so that shows washing the hands in the beginning is sunnah. فَاغْسِلُوا وُجُوهَكُمْ. We're going to talk about exact how much of the face, but let me just explain the ayah. وَأَيْدِيَكُمْ إِلَى الْمَرَافِقِ, and your hands until your elbows. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ, wipe your heads. وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ, and wash your feet until your ankles. And the fact that Allah SWT mentioned it in that order, right? And also we talked about the linguistic structure as well. The fact that Allah mentioned something to wipe in between things which are to be washed, and the Arabs don't speak like that. Arabs will mention all one category, then move on to the next category. The fact that something to wipe is in between all of the washing. Wash your face, wash your arms, wipe the head, wash your feet. It shows that there's a reason to it, and the only reason is that that's the order. So making sure it's in order is also an obligation. And lastly, making sure that you don't leave, it says here continuity, but what that basically means is that you don't leave that much of a time gap between two parts that it causes the previous part to dry in a normal state. Obviously, if you like stood under the dryer or something like that, obviously it's going to dry quicker, right? But generally, in a normal place, if you're just standing there normally, how long it would take to dry, that's how you would count it. So what are they? So that all six are, you can say in the ayah, and as the sixth one isn't as clear, then there's many ahadith to prove it as well. So the first is washing the face, rinsing the mouth and nose. So what is included in the face is the mouth and nose. What's included in the face is the mouth and nose, rinsing it, both of them. In Arabic, the mouth, rinsing the mouth is called istinja. What do you do, man? Huh? Madmada. Madmada. And what's rinsing the nose called? Istinshaq. Istinshaq. And what's, okay, putting water into the nose is called istinshaq. Bringing water out of the nose is known as istijmar. Is when you clean yourself with rocks or with tissue in the bathroom. Istinthar. Istinthar. So madmada, istinshaq, and istinthar. And the reason it's given two different names is to differentiate. Because they say sunnah to put the water in with which hand? With your right. And then blow it out with which hand? With your left. So istinshaq is with your right, and istinthar is with your left. Obviously, if you do all with one hand, it's fine. No. So make sure you guys don't get confused with all these terminologies. Istinja, istijmar, istinshaq, istinthar, istighfar. And so you say istighfar and you go to the bathroom. Right? So don't get confused. Istinja is to wash yourself with water in the bathroom. Istijmar, to use rocks or any dry objects in the bathroom, which we're going to talk about again. Istinshaq, to put water into your nose. Istinthar, to bring water out of your nose. Right. Okay. What's considered the face? What considered the face from sideways? It's horizontally, it's from earlobe to earlobe. So, especially men that have beards, you have, where your sideburns are, there's a bit of skin between your sideburns and your ears. So make sure that part is washed. Also, lengthwise, it's from your chin until where your hairline is. And if you're bald, then you put your full head on the tap. No, if you're bald, then wherever the hairline is meant to start, wherever the hairline is meant to start from, that's the face. Washing the arms from fingertips. So the ayah says on your hands. Your hand starts from here. Therefore, you have to make sure you wash your hands here until and including your elbows. Notice in wudu, you wash your hands twice, in the beginning and over here. The first one is sunnah. The second one is obligatory. So even if you washed it in the beginning, you have to wash it again here. But if you missed out the first one, and you just do the second one, then that's fine, because the second one is the obligation. Wiping the entire head and the ears, so just from front to the back, and you bring it back. Once is minimum, twice is, twice as in bringing it back, is sunnah, and then you do your ears. You don't do the neck, that's not been narrated, therefore it's an innovation. Washing the feet and including the ankles, so same thing. And then making sure that the water reaches in between, it's sunnah to do that as well. Right? That just makes sure that the water has reached. Washing the parts in order, i.e. the obligatory parts, and then making sure you don't leave a time limit so the previous part dries. We come to the nullifiers. The nullifiers of wudu, the Shaykh in total mentions 8, but he says, look, 2 of them, the correct opinion is that it doesn't break your wudu. So it's only 6. So nullifiers are only 6. Number 1, al-kharij min as-sabilain, whatever exits from the 2 private parts. General principle, anything that comes out of the 2 private parts, it breaks your wudu. And then some of those not only breaks your wudu, but you have to do ghusl as well, which we alluded to previously. Number 2, the exiting of impure substances from other parts of the body. And even this is a bit of khilaf, but generally, Labas will stick to it. Anything like pus or blood, Alright, according to this, it breaks your wudu. Number 3, losing consciousness due to sleep or other than it. Right? This is if your sleep leads you to losing consciousness, i.e. you don't know what's going on around you, even for a split second. But if you are in a very light sleep where you can understand, sometimes you're in class, and inshallah not my class, but you doze off a little bit, but you hear everything, what's going on around you. That doesn't break your wudu, because you're still aware of, you still hear stuff you're aware around. But as soon as you lose consciousness and you don't know, then that breaks your wudu. And the dalil is that some of the Sahaba was waiting for Salah, sat down, they would fall asleep. And even in some narrations, you can hear some snoring from them as well. So, but the rule is that if you lose consciousness, then it breaks your wudu. No. الراجح is correct that it doesn't break your wudu. No. But because revision, I don't want to go into every single khilaf. I think Shaykh Huzaifah might even mention it. That's the correct opinion. Yeah, there you go. He mentions it. Anyway. Number 4, touching the private parts, front or back, without a barrier. Number 8, eating camel's meat. That's specific to camel's meat only. The person was asked that should I do wudu from eating sheep's meat? And he said, in shit if you want to. I mean, it's not obligatory. But then when he was asked about camel, he said, na'am. He said, yes. So you do wudu. Leaving Islam. Washing a dead body, does that break your wudu? The Shaykh says, correct opinion that it doesn't. Unless it touches the private parts. Likewise, touching a woman, that doesn't break your wudu, because the Prophet ﷺ used to kiss some of his wives before he used to go for salah, and then he never used to make wudu. This is a summary of how to do wudu. You can read that. Now we come to tayammum. Tayammum, or dry ablution they call it, is basically done for two. Yeah. La. No. If you want to, you can. In shit, if you want to. You won't say sunnah. La. You get rewarded it from the angle of you just in act of worship, but not connected to the eating. Just like if you want to do wudu right now. But if you want right now, you might miss the class, so you might not get that much reward. I don't know. Right. When do you do tayammum? Tayammum is in two, generally, as a general answer, 2 times. When you don't have water, or you don't have the ability to use water. So even if it's there, but let's say it's too high, you can't reach it, stuck in a tree somewhere. Or I might even say if it's too expensive to buy, like it's not the normal price. Right? The guy's selling one water bottle for like £10, £20, you don't have to buy it. Right? A bottle of water is what, £1? Yeah, you don't need to. Or most of the places is free, right? You can just go and use it. So, or if you've got an injury and you can't use water on that part. So either you don't have water, or you're not able to use that water, or fearing harm if you use that water. Basically, you can't use that water. Then you use Ad-Turab. Ad-Turab is basically the earth, right? Natural earth. And the way you do it, very, very simple. You make your intention, you say Bismillah, you touch the Turab, and then you just wipe your hand, wipe your face, and then your hands. That's it. And you're done. Right? You got diagram Shaykh Huzaifah there. Shaykh said you don't even have to open your fingers, it's fine. Description of how to do a ghusl. Ghusl, again, is very easy. The minimum is making sure that make sure the water reaches every part of your body. Every part of your body. And if you got hair, making sure it reaches inside the hair. That is what is obligatory. As for the sunnah way, then you wash your private parts first, then you wash both your hands, and then you do wudu. Then you throw water over your head 3 times, then you wash the right side of the body, left side of the body, and then you wash your feet. But the feet is only washed later at the end if you're in a place where water is being jumped. Right? If you're in the bath or something like that. But if you're in a place where the water goes, or your feet wouldn't get dirty, then you do that. If you're in a place where it does get dirty or it does get jammed, then you leave, and then you wash your feet at the end. But if you're not in a place like that, then you can wash your feet as you're doing wudu. What makes a shower obligatory? So we talked about this when we talked about janabah. Hadath akbar, major spiritual impurity. Shaykh mentions 4 reasons. Number 1, sperm or semen coming out, the male or female. Number 2, the second reason within the first one is the male and female organ meeting. What that basically means is that the private part of the guy, the head of it, goes and disappears inside of the woman. If that happens, then whether sperm comes out or not, then it doesn't matter. As soon as that happens, then a ghusl becomes obligatory. Number 2, menstruation or postnatal bleeding. Number 3, death of other than a martyr, i.e., somebody dies, then obviously he doesn't have to do ghusl because he's passed away, but we have to do ghusl of that person. Yeah? And non-Muslim accepting Islam. Wiping over the socks, what are the conditions for wiping over the socks? They must be clean. This one's very important. You have to wear them whilst you're in a state of wudu. Right? So you have to be in a state of wudu and then you wear your socks. Then if you break your wudu, you can wipe over it. But if you're in a state you don't have wudu, you can't put your socks on and then wipe over it. You have to be in a state of wudu when you put them on. Wiping is only done when making ablution and not when taking a shower. So you only wipe over the socks for wudu, not for a ghusl. It must cover most of the feet, meaning it must cover the area which is obligatory for you to wash, at your till ankles. If there's a little part missing, like you got a hole here or something like that, that's fine. As for ankle socks, they should be avoided because they should show you full ankle. How long can you wipe for? If you are resident, 24 hours, i.e. 1 day a night. But if you're traveling, 72 hours, i.e. 3 days a night. And the time begins, when does the time begin? From the first wiping, i.e. when you do your masjid. When you do the masjid, that's when the time starts. Right? How to wipe? Literally, just wipe your hands, just wipe over it once at the top, that's it. If the time limit finishes, let's say 24 hours finishes, at this moment, does your wudu break? No. Or if you take off your socks, does your wudu break? No. It's that the time's finished, yes. That means you can't wipe over it again, but you're still in a state of wudu until you break your wudu. But you can't do wiping over it again unless you take it off and put it back on. But you should take them off, change your socks on them. Wear new socks. Don't wear the same one for 10 days. Number 2, it is permissible to wipe over the socks that some of the skin can be seen through due to holes or being thin. Right? If you can see a bit of the skin or something, it's fine. Manners using the toilet, making the dua before you're going in. It's obligatory to go to a place where no one can see you. Obviously, nowadays, alhamdulillah, there's locks and stuff, so it's fine. It's not allowed to really leave yourself on the street or people sit or under trees because it's going to harm people. You shouldn't also face yourself to the qibla, front or to the back. So if the toilet is built in such a way where it's facing the qibla, you yourself just move slightly. For example, وَلَكِنْ شَرِّقُوا أَوْ غَرِّبُوا. Move east slightly or move west slightly. And you move left, move right a little bit. Touch the organ with the right hand. You should clean yourself only with the left hand and touch it with only the left hand. To mention Allah's name. And then after that you should do istinja or istijmar. Istinja is straightforward. What about istijmar? What are the conditions? What are the conditions of using dry objects like rocks or tissues or whatever it may be? Now firstly, the best is that you do both. Istijmar and istinja. But if you just do one of the two, then that also suffices as well. But with istijmar, there's conditions. Number 1, you have to do at least three wipes. Whatever object you're using, minimum of 3 wipes. And if there's a big object or there's different parts to it, then using different parts counts as a separate one. Okay? So big tissue, use one side, then use the other side, or a rock, use one corner, then another corner, then another corner. That's fine. That counts as 3 different ones. This is the minimum. Obviously, if you're still not clean, then you keep doing it until it becomes clean. And what is considered clean is that if you cleaned it so much that if anything is left, then that can only be cleaned with water. Right? It's so little that it cannot be cleaned except with water. If you do that, then it's enough for your istijmar. The object itself must be pure. It shouldn't be impure. Nor should be irrespected items, food, books. Nor is it allowed bone or dung. And bones or dung, that is not allowed for you to use as well, because the first I mentioned, that's the food of the jinn. Another thing that scholars mention as well, there's a lot of things that scholars mention. They say that it shouldn't be something which is amless. Something which is smooth, like a smooth object. Why? Because obviously it's going to do the opposite. It's not going to clean it, it's going to make it worse. It's a mistake in the translation. That doesn't say pure. In Arabic it says manaqiya. I look at the hadith, fine. Are you allowed to stand up and urinate? It's permissible, with the condition that your private parts are not exposed to anyone, nor will a urine splash back onto you. If you feel that's going to happen, it's not allowed. But it's permissible. Why? It comes in the hadith, as that once the Prophet ﷺ did that. But obviously, it's better to sit down. Alhamdulillah, with that, we've taken tahara. Naam. Yeah. No more questions. Khalas. You guys, we're not going to finish the book. Number 2, az-zakah. And we've already done this as well. Zakah are 2 types: zakat al-fitr and zakat al-mal, zakat al-wealth. Zakat al-fitr is obligatory upon every Muslim adult, child, male or female, slave, every single person. It's obligatory upon them to give, and we're going to talk more about this when it comes to fasting, inshallah, at the end. But the zakat al-wealth, this zakah is the one which is the pillar of Islam. Zakat al-fitr is obligatory, but it's not pillar of Islam. The pillar of Islam is zakah of wealth. Okay, this is for the free Muslim, is not slave, who has reached the age of puberty, and he has the who has reached, not the age of puberty, who has reached the amount to pay, and he's got the nisab. That's called the nisab, the threshold. There's no zakah until that money he's been above that threshold for over a year. Okay, except for that which grows from the earth, as we're going to get to in a second. What you do is that as soon as it becomes obligatory, you choose one day in the year, and that's the day in the Hijri calendar that it becomes obligatory. What do you give zakah on? 4 things: merchandise, i.e. anything you have for buying and selling; that which grows from the earth, the grains and fruits; animals that graze freely. Okay, i.e. they go and they do it themselves, and they graze for either the entire year or for most of the year. Not that they do it for 1 month; they're actually working for majority of the year. And gold and silver, and we can use that for wealth as well. How much is it? 85 grams of gold and 595 grams of silver. And obviously what that equates to in pounds differs, so you should always go to the jeweler and ask them, how much would 85 grams of gold cost, and how much would 595 grams of silver cost. Who do we give zakat to? 8 types of people, all mentioned in that one ayah, Surah At-Tawbah, إِنَّمَا الصَّدَقَاتُ لِلْفُقَرَاءِ, till the end of the ayah. The first are the poor and needy. What's different with poor and needy? It's basically the same, but the difference is a poor person is somebody that has less than half of what they need, and a needy person is somebody who has more than half but still not enough. So if they need 1,000 to live, a poor person is somebody who's got less than 500. A needy person is somebody who's got more than 500 but not 1,000 yet. Yeah, so a poor person is somebody that has less than half of what they need, and a needy person, somebody has more than half that what they need but still not enough. Those employed to collect the funds, so those that give out zakah, you can pay them for their travels and whatever is needed for them to do their job, to attract the hearts of those who be inclined to Islam. So basically giving it to non-Muslims if you feel like it's going to enter them into Islam, to free Muslim captives, to those in debt, right, and they can't pay their debt or there's some benefit that's going to come out of it, for Allah's call, and for a traveler who's cut off from everything. So he's traveling, he's somebody that has money, but right now he's lost everything, to give him enough money so that he can reach home. Right, then we came to this, which I'm not going to go into because a lot of maths and so on, and I know there's going to be a lot of questions, so you guys can revise this yourself in terms of the animals, the different names: bint makhad, bint laboon, hiqqa, jaza'ah, tabi'a, or musanna. Some musanna is musinna. Allah alam, musinna, but and these are different ages that they are, and depending, this is the main chart, right? Depending on how many cows you have or camels you have and how many sheep you have, that's how much zakah you give. And we did all this working out before. You can go back to that later. Alhamdulillah, with that we finish zakah. Move on to fasting now. Fasting, linguistically, the word siyam, you can say som and siyam. Both of them are masters. Both of them are mean the same thing. Som or siyam. For example, Allah says, Ya alladhina amanu kutiba alaykum as-siyam. But all you who believe, fasting has been prescribed upon you. But when it came to the hadith of the 5 pillars of Islam, bunya al-Islam ala khams, shahadati la ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, wa iqam as-salah, wa ita az-zakah, wa sawmi Ramadan. The word sawm is used. So both are correct, and both mean the same thing. What that word sawm literally means, to withhold or to refrain from something. So the Islamic meaning is to worship Allah by withholding from food and drink and everything which breaks the fast from sunrise to sunset. So it's a worship of Allah. You have the intention to worship Allah. It's not that you're going on a diet. Right, that could be a secondary intention, but it's not your main intention. You're not saying month of Ramadan, you don't say I'm fasting because it's part of my diet. No, you're fasting because it's obligatory for you to fast. At the same time, alhamdulillah, It's good for my health as well. That's fine. From sunrise to sunset. 2 pillars. If you want to summarize fasting, what makes your fasting correct? 2 things. Number 1, you have the intention. And number 2, you stay away from everything which breaks your fast. If you do that, you have the intention in the morning, I'm going to fast today, and then you don't do anything which breaks your fast, khalas, you've done your fast. Okay? Now, with the intention, now as you can see, they've put number 2 into 2 parts, but it should be the first one. Intention is 2 types, not the second one. Why have they done this? Why have they split withholding from that which breaks fast into 2 types instead of the intention? Translation. Because the book's in Arabic originally, so what they did is intention was on the right, but they just took out the Arabic and put the English there, but not really change the design. Yeah, because Arabic's from right to left, English is from left to right. So if it's the intention, when do you make your intention? If it's an obligatory fast, you have to make it before Fajr, right? Because you have to have intention for the full day. But recommended fast, nafil fast, that you are allowed to make it during the day if you haven't done anything which breaks the fast. And that's the Prophet did. He came home one day, asked, what's at home? Nothing's at home? Right, I'm fasting. Okay? Alright. Types of fast, 2 types, obligatory and recommended. Obligatory, obviously the main one, which is the pillar of Islam, is fasting in Ramadan. But there are others like expiations. If you do certain sins or mistakes, then you can only make up for it by an expiation. That comes in only a few places, but we'll get to some of them inshallah. Or if you make a vow that if I pass the exam, then wallahi I'll fast for Allah. If you do that, khalas, that becomes obligatory. Every other fast, and the Shaykh's going to mention them later, inshallah, we'll get to. What are the conditions for obligatory fasting? So Islam, sanity, puberty. Puberty is a condition of acceptance. Obligation. Tamyiz is for acceptance. But they should be encouraged. Alright, so kids fasting is something encouraged. So that they're used to it. And subhanAllah, you find kids love it. I fasted this many days, I fasted this many days, or how many do you fast that? They love it. Right? Then you get some elders, it's too long, and you get some juhal saying, no, we don't have to fast in the UK, it's too many hours. Right? Then you got little kids saying, oh, I fasted. It shows a problem with iman. Not traveling. If you are traveling, it's not obligatory upon you to fast. And likewise, good health. If you're ill, then it's not obligatory upon you to fast. Now, and also for women, they're not in their menses or postnatal bleeding. Now, with traveling and good health, I went into detail of we've agreed that you don't have to fast, but is it better to fast or not? I went into detail all of them, but the simple answer right now, because we're going through it quickly, so I don't want to go into too much detail. The simple answer is that if it's easy for you and there's no harm to you, it's better to fast. Right? But if it's difficult, then you shouldn't, and if it's harming you, then it's not allowed. Right? If it's easy for you, then you should do it. Why? Because then you end up fasting in Ramadan, and you don't have to make you up, and it becomes a problem later. The obligation has been fulfilled, and so on. And there are a hadith as well. But if it's difficult, then you should take the concession that Allah has given you. Allah has made it easier, take it. And if it's harming you, then it's not allowed. Right? Types of sickness. Okay, so somebody doesn't fast because they're sick. When do they make you up? If it's a temporary sickness, right, you're just ill for a few days, that's fine. Whenever you're better, you make you up before the next Ramadan. Okay? But if it's a permanent sickness, like a terminal illness, where generally you don't hope for that person to become better. And when you say generally, you don't know, Allah can cure anyone. But generally, person's got cancer, he's got to a really old age where he's only going to get older, he's not going to get younger. So you don't norms of the people, you don't believe that person will get better. In that case, they don't fast, and what they do is that they pay for a poor person to eat every single day instead. Yeah. So I said you're allowed to delay it to Ramadan. So does winter come before Ramadan, after Ramadan? So is it allowed? خلاص. It's fine. Aisha radhiyallahu anha used to delay all the way to Sha'ban. And the question isn't just winter, the question is before Ramadan. Because what happens when Ramadan becomes like November, before winter? Right. How do you know the beginning of Ramadan starts? Either you see the new moon, or if you don't see it, then it's 30 days. What breaks the fast? Eating or drinking intentionally, and anything that takes the ruling of eating and drinking. So some people don't eat and drink, but they'll take injections which have nutritions in there and so on because they're ill or whatever. If it's considered food and it has nutrition in it and so on, then that would break their fast, because that takes the ruling of food and drink for that person. Intercourse, and for all of them, if you break your fast, you should do tawbah, and you just make out that fast. But with intercourse in Ramadan, this one's a very severe sin. This one has a special expiation that you make up, which is either the first thing that you do, it's not a choice in order, you free a slave. If there's no slaves available, which in this time you can't, then you, what's the word? If unavailable, and you can't find, then you have to fast for 2 consecutive months, i.e. 60 days. Consecutive, meaning if you miss one day, you're on 57, you miss a day, what do? Start again. So is it really worth it? Those few minutes for 60 days. And if you're unable to fast, i.e. you physically can't, if you're a youngster, you can fast, right? Not work and stuff is not an excuse. But it means that you can't fast, like you physically can't, right? Then you have to feed 64 people. And it's not a choice. Remember, it's not a choice. You don't say, I'll just feed people. Yeah, some people be like, I'm rich, I'll just feed 60 people. No, it has to be in order. The exiting of sperm due to kissing, touching, or anything else. Cupping. But the exception is that if it's for a blood test, then it's permissible, because it's little. It's not the same amount of blood that normally comes out when you do cupping. Vomiting intentionally, unintentionally is fine. And menses and postnatal bleeding. Yeah. Same with eating and drinking intentionally as well. I mean, if you do it out of forgetfulness, then it's fine. What's allowed? It's allowed for you to swallow saliva. You got saliva in your mouth. That's allowed because that's from the inside. Tasting food if necessary. What that basically means is just you get the fingertip of your finger, and you just taste it like that. That's allowed. Why? Because you're not really eating anything, and there's a need. Imagine people are hungry. Yeah, your whole family is at iftar table, and then the food, it's not nice. It's going to cause issues. So for that necessity, it's allowed. Taking a shower, it's allowed. Some people think you can't. Brushing your teeth is allowed. To try your best to make sure nothing goes down. Smelling good is fine. Keeping cool is fine. Recommended actions, most of these are straightforward. You can read them in your own time. But suhoor is very important, right? Try to eat suhoor. Some people don't eat suhoor. La, it's sunnah, and you should try your best to do it. And even if it's a date or it's a glass of water, you should do that. Disliked actions, being excessive and rinsing the mouth. When it comes to washing the mouth, madmadah and istinshaq, the default ruling is you should put a lot of water, like be excessive in it. Put a lot of water into it. For example, said وَبَالِغْ فِي الْمَضْمَضَةِ وَالْإِسْتِنْشَاقِ, go be excessive. And then the Prophet said, إِلَّا أَن تَكُونَ صَائِمًا, except if you're fasting. When you're fasting, you shouldn't do it. Why? Because then very easily you can go down. And tasting food for no reason. Prohibited actions for the fasting person. It says spit, what the Shaykh means is phlegm. Phlegm, you should try your best not to. Kissing the wife if one's not able to stay away from relations. If you know you can't control yourself, khalas, don't do it. Every prohibited action outside of Ramadan. Anything's haram outside of Ramadan, it's haram even more in Ramadan. Foolishness, wasting time, all that stuff. Fasting 2 days without breaking the fast. Without breaking the fast. Without breaking the fast, yeah? What that means is that if iftar time comes and you say, I don't eat anything, all the way until Fajr, you're like, I'm not going to eat anything. So you fasted for 2 days straight, basically. That's not allowed. I eat 2 days straight without eating anything. That's not allowed. Obviously, if it happens unintentionally, they see a tweet of one brother once. He fell asleep before Maghrib, woke up after Fajr. Right? So, miskeen, he has to fast. Recommended fast. 6th of Shawwal. This should only be done after you've made up your Ramadan ones. But if you get to a point where you're not able to do both, then some ulama allow doing the Shawwal ones and then the Ramadan after. The day of Arafah for the one who's not doing Hajj. If you're doing Hajj, then you're not allowed to fast. Why? Because you need energy to worship Allah. Fasting day of Ashura, the day before or after. Fasting Mondays and Thursdays. Fasting 3 days of every month. And the best, it can be any 3 days, but the best ones are the white days. The 13th, 14th and 15th. Why is it called the white days? Because the white people fast on that day, or? The moon is complete, the moon is full. Fasting every other day, that's the fast of Dawood. So Monday, then Wednesday, then Friday, and then Sunday, and then Tuesday. Like, do a fast and miss a fast. Prophet said the best fast is the fast of Dawood, and he mentioned this how he did it. Muharram, the 9th of Al-Hijjah, and in most of Sha'ban. Is this like to only fast on these days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? You shouldn't specify Friday or specify Saturday or specify Sunday, mainly because it leads to people believing, because people think Friday is the best day. Oh, I should do Friday because it's Friday, and they think extra reward and so on. So you shouldn't specify those days unless it falls under the custom. For example, if you're doing every other day, for example, and it falls on a Friday, that's fine. Or if you're doing the white days and it falls on a Friday, then that is fine. Prohibited, Rajab alone, days of Eid, it's not allowed to fast on Eid. A couple of days before Ramadan, if you've not fasted the rest of Sha'ban, you can't fast a day or two before Ramadan. You have to wait for Ramadan. The days of Eid after Hajj, which are known as, what they called? Ayyam al-Tashriq, right? The 3 days after Hajj. And fasting every day. Every single day of the year is not allowed. Person took days off. Rulings on making them up, it's recommended to fast them consecutively and to do it as soon as possible. Recommended, yeah, not obligatory. And it's permissible to delay until the next Ramadan. If one does delay, then there's nothing extra upon him except to make up whilst he is sinful. Meaning, if a person delays it so much that next Ramadan comes, then he's sinful. But there's no expiation for him to do. But Zakatul Fitr is a zakah which is also obligatory. It's not the pillar of Islam, but it is obligatory upon every single person who has enough for it to cover Zakatul Fitr, he has to give it. Okay, and if somebody is young, for example, in the house, it's obligatory upon them. But for that person, like a child, obviously he's not gonna have money to give. What happened is that the one who's in charge of taking care of them, most of the time the father, he gives it on their behalf. So the Shaykh, he says it's obligatory upon everyone who has reached the sunset of the last day of Ramadan. When does it become obligatory? Maghrib time, the night before. Yeah, the night before Eid. Whether they whilst they're a Muslim, so whether old, young, male, female, slave, free, or whatever. Right? Now it should be given. We're going to talk about that time when you can give it. How much is given? A sa'. A sa' is 4 handfuls. 4 mads. What's plural of mad? Mudud. No, not mudud. I remember this one. SubhanAllah. I was in my final year of the university, and we had a new student in the first year. You know, some new students, they think they know a lot, right? So I mentioned, we wrote in Arabic, and I wrote the word amdad. And he goes, it's mudud. Mudud is a mad in the Quran when you stretch it. Yeah? Ulaika. Amdad is plural of mad. Yeah? And to give a sa', so basically 4 mududs, right? 4 amdad. Come on. 4 amdad. Basically what that equates to is about 3 kg. Some ulama differ, say 2.4 or whatever. But 3 kg is a good amount. Did Shaykh mention that? I don't know on the page. Yeah. He mentions it, yeah. 2 kg and 40 grams. But some ulama take up to 3 kg. No. The time. So when do you give it? So it's not allowed to give it after Eid. After Eid, time's gone. Like you finish the Eid Salah, khalas, time's gone. Okay? But the recommended time is on the day of Eid after Fajr, before the Eid Salah. Alright? Why? It's given in food. So that they got food for the day. Yeah? Also, you can give money to an organization that will buy the food and so on, but no. But it's permissible a day or two before. You want to be safe when you give it the night before, the day before that? Permissible. The Eid prayer is obligatory upon everyone. You're allowed to pray from basically after sunrise until basically Dhuhr. So you can pray anytime. And sunrise now is 7:30. So you can pray from 7:30. No, you should wait 10-15 minutes after Shuruq. So from 7:45 until all the way until Dhuhr starts at 11:51. Right? 7:30 all the way until 11:50, you can pray. If one misses it, you can make it up. One cannot make it up, often. One cannot make it up. It's from the sunnah that to pray in an open space if possible. Right? If it's not possible, then khalas. So if it's going to cause harm, and you have to look at your congregation as well. Yani, you never do a sunnah if it's at the expense of harming people. Yeah. So especially if you're elderly and so on, and it's too cold and it can't be outside, then khalas. As a masjid you should do it inside. As an individual, you want to go to another masjid doing outside, you go. Likewise, it's recommended to eat an odd number of dates before. For Eid al-Fitr, it's sunnah to eat before. For Eid al-Adha, it's sunnah to eat after. And if you ever get confused which one do you eat before, which one do you eat after, it makes sense. It's very easy. Which one do you sacrifice? Eid al-Adha. So you pray your salah and you sacrifice the animal, then you munch the animal. So it's after. Yeah? Khalas. You take a shower, perfume, wear your best clothes. Doesn't necessarily have to be new clothes. Some people always have to buy new. It's nice if you buy new clothes, but the main thing is that you wear your best clothes. Yeah. Once you take one way to the masjid and return from a different path, you should greet each other on the day of Eid. Taqabbalallahu minna minkum. And you can say other statements as well. Why? Because it's all from Bab al-Tahniyah. It goes back to the Aada. So yes, it's narrated from some of the Tabi'een. They will say Taqabbalallahu minna minkum. But that doesn't negate that you can say other things. Right? You can say in English if you want. Right? So but this goes back to Aadat. It's not an act of ibadah in of itself that is specified with a certain wording. And it's recommended to say Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, lillahi alhamd, from the night of Eid until sunset on the day of Eid. How do you pray Salat al-Eid? 2 raka'at before the khutbah. So opposite to Friday. Friday khutbah first and salah. Eid, salah first then the khutbah. You do 7 takbirat, but you say 7 including the first takbir. Now. So 7 takbir, Allahu Akbar, takbir al-haram, and then 6 after that. There is some khilaf, but everyone kind of agrees that it's 7. They have a khilaf. Does takbir al-haram count as part of the 7 or not? Let's just stick to this. And then second raka'ah, once you get up, you do 5 takbirat. What does it mean by takbirat? Saying Allahu Akbar. Fad, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Yeah. And then you recite normally. And what's sunnah to recite in Salat al-Eid? A'la ghashiya o? Qafan qamar. No. Right, let's move on to Hajj. Hajj is the 5th pillar of Islam. It's obligatory for a Muslim, sane, mature, free, able, i.e. physically and financially able, and a male guardian for the woman who needs to travel to perform Hajj. I.e. if she lives in Makkah, then she doesn't need one. But if she needs to travel, then she needs a mahram. And if she cannot find a mahram, it is not obligatory upon her to go. Okay? The pillars of Hajj are 4. Ihram, which is your intention. Not the clothing. The clothing is going to come later. Being in Arafah, i.e. if you miss the day before of being in Mina, as long as you reach Arafah on the day of Arafah, even for a split second, your Hajj is fine. Al-Hajj Arafah. Hajj is Arafah. Tawaf, there's different types of Tawaf. This is Tawaf al-Ifadah, and you sa'i between Safa and Marwa. There are 3 types of Hajj. At-Tamattu', Qiran, and Ifrad. This is a mistake. Qarin is the one doing Qiran, but the name of it is called Qiran. Right? The person is called Qarin. Just like Tamattu'. Tamattu' is the name of the action. The person doing it is called Mutamattu'. And the one doing Ifrad is known as Mufrid. Okay, Mutamattu', Qarin, and Mufrid. And Tamattu', Qiran, and Ifrad. Ifrad is where you just do Hajj. You go on the 8th day, you do Hajj. Qiran is where you go a bit earlier, you do Umrah, and then you don't, at the end of Umrah, normally you come out of Ihram, right? Like you don't come out of Ihram. You stay in your Ihram. It's all the things which are not allowed for you to do, cut your nails and so on, that we're going to get to. It still applies, and then you do Hajj in that same Ihram. And as for Tamattu' is where you do Umrah, you come out of Ihram, you chill in Makkah until the 8th, and then you do Hajj. Right? The first one, you don't need to sacrifice an animal, but these 2, you sacrifice an animal as well. Obligations of Hajj. Ihram, i.e. wearing the clothing now. And if you don't do an obligation, you have to make by sacrificing an animal, and that's a sheep slaughtered in Makkah and distributed to people of Makkah. You yourself cannot eat from that meat. So Ihram from the miqat, we're going to get to what the miqats are in a second. Staying in Arafah until sunset. So the pillar is staying in Arafah, but you should stay until sunset as obligation. Then staying in Muzdalifah, which is the place after. Staying in Mina for the 3 that's after Eid. Shaving the head or cutting the hair, throwing the pebbles, Jamarat. And the farewell Tawaf. Just before you leave Makkah, there's a Tawaf that you do. This is only for Hajj, not for Umrah. So if you're doing Umrah, then you're about to leave Umrah, or you're about to leave Makkah, you don't have to do anything. But for Hajj, before you leave Makkah, whenever you leave Makkah, so if you leave the same day as the last day of Hajj, then you do it. Or if you stay in Makkah for a while, for another week, and then you leave, you do it then. You just do one more tawaf with the intention of the farewell tawaf, tawaf al-wada', and then you go. That's the last thing that you should do. And it's not that you go tawaf and then you go back to the hotel and chill. No, you do tawaf and then you leave straight away. Yes, if you need to go grab your bags, you grab your bags, but like you don't go back to rest or chill in the hotel. Okay, what is the miqat? Miqat is basically the time and place when you're allowed to do Hajj and Umrah. So this is two types. Either there's places and there's times. The places are 5. These are the names of the places. Yeah, Huzaifah for those coming from Medina, Juhfa for people from these places, Qarn Nazir from Najd, Yalamnan from Yemen, Zat Irq for Iraq. Depending on where you're going from, you're going to pass these places, right? There's certain places. You just have to make sure that you have made your intention, which is the pillar, and you wear the clothing, which is the obligation, before going over that. So if you're going over in the plane like us, if you go to Jeddah, you go over it. I think it's Juhfa, the one that we pass, right? Because we're going over it, you make sure that you make your intention and you wear the clothing on the plane. So some people at the airport, they put the clothing on, but some people feel too awkward through the airport, so they'll get changed during the flight. Okay, which is fine, but make sure you do it early enough so that, because if you go right towards the end, everyone's going to go at that time, right? So make sure early enough. And as you're going over it, depending on who it is, normally Saudi Airlines, I think they announce it. Other airlines, I'm not sure, but you'll have to just check that. Make sure that before going over it, make your intention. You are allowed to make your intention from anywhere behind the miqat. So if you wanted to make your intention from the airport, you can. But as soon as you make your intention, khas, you're in ihram. You can't cut your nails, you can't put perfume on, you can't do anything else. Okay? The sunnah is to make your intention from the miqat. The timing, Umrah you can do any time of the year. But Hajj, if you're doing the Umrah before it, the Umrah for Hajj, which is part of the Hajj, only in these months. Shawwal, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, after Ramadan. After Ramadan. Recommended actions to do: wear 2 white pieces of cloth. So what's obligatory is just 2 pieces of cloth, unstitched. Unstitched meaning that you've not made any holes for any arms or anything like that. Just 2 open cloths, right? Open pieces of fabric, one from the top, one from the bottom. That's it. And it can be any color technically, but we would say only wear white, because everyone wears white. Okay. And now because every single person wears white, you could argue it's not allowed, because then you just stand out. That's considered libas al-shuhra, and that's not allowed. Taking a shower and smelling good for ihram. Before getting into the state of ihram, you can have a shower, you can put perfume on yourself. This is before, like if you're in the hotel, before you're leaving Medina, for example, you can put perfume on your body. But just make sure it doesn't end up going on the clothes. And you can't put perfume on after you've gone to the miqat. And after you made your intention. Talbiyah from ihram, labayk Allahumma labayk, and so on. Clipping the nails before ihram. You're allowed to do that. Cutting your hair, you should do all of that before ihram. When you're doing tawaf, you go around the Kaaba 7 times. The first 3, you should do something called ramal, which is walking quickly. Not jogging. Maybe like it's like a jog, but basically walking fast. Right? Quick walking. The introductory tawaf for Mufrid and Qarin. That's called tawaf al-qudum when you reach Makkah. Praying Maghrib and Isha together when you reach Muzdalifah. Exposing the right shoulder. So men, once you're in the tawaf area, it's called mataf. Mataf, the place of tawaf. Masjid, the place of sujood. Yeah? Mataf, the place of tawaf. So not when you entered Makkah, you uncover your right shoulder. Or you see the masjid, uncover your right shoulder, no. Or you just enter the masjid, uncover your right shoulder, no. Once you actually get to the place of doing tawaf, just before you start, you uncover your right shoulder, and during that tawaf, you keep your right shoulder uncovered. If salah time comes during the tawaf, you stop, you cover your shoulder for salah, and then after salah is finished, you go to the place where you stopped, and you uncover your shoulder again, and you continue. Kissing the black stone, if you're able to. If you're not able to, too many people, don't kiss it. Right? If you can kiss it, best. If you can just touch it, you touch it. But most people, it's difficult, especially now. So just from far. Allah Akbar. That's fine. The first one, Bismillah, Allah Akbar. Sleeping in Mina the night before and standing in Muzdalifah. Right. 9 things which you are not allowed to do in ihram. Removing any hair. Clipping the nails. Covering your head. So even some people get the top, the ihram, and they put it over the head. Like it's too hot. It's not allowed. Can't cover your head whatsoever. This is for men. For women, they wear normal clothes. They just can't wear 2 things. They can't wear a niqab, nor can they wear gloves. لا تلبس المرأة النقاب وَلَا الْقَفَازِينَ. What it means by niqab is a separate piece of clothing which covers the face. As for, let's say this was the hijab, part, right? And this is how many women in Pakistan wear the niqab anyway, right? Part of the headscarf, they'll have extra cloth. Right? Take that and cover it, that's fine. Okay? Or, I think some women, what they do as well is that the new, what's it called? The new hijabs, they have niqabs is a 3-piece or something, right? Yeah? Huh? No, khimar. Basically, the normal, it has like 3 layers or something. They use one of those layers and they throw it over the face. Yeah? You can do that as well. Now, just can't be a separate piece of clothing. Normally, right? They'll get a separate clothing and then they'll tie it. It can't be that. Continuing with men, wearing any clothes that take form of the body part. Anything stitched. Like this here, stitched, my arm goes in here. Right? That's not allowed. Wearing face and veil and gloves for women, putting anything, any perfume, killing animals is not allowed, or hunting, getting married or marrying someone off, right? Yeah, and nowadays it's become a trend. Everyone wants to go Makkah, Medina. Yeah, it's permissible to get married there in terms of the Islamic ruling. I don't think the government allow it, so you shouldn't. But whilst in the state of ihram itself, Islamic is not allowed. Nor can you marry someone off. So you can't be doing, Umrah yourself and Hajj, and then you doing that the Imam does nikah of somebody else. No, you marrying somebody else off is not allowed. Intercourse is not allowed. Touching the wife in a manner with desire is not allowed as well. Obviously, if there's a need, sometimes during tawaf there's so many people and so on, you want to protect them or hold their hand or something. With not holding the hand in a romantic way, but holding the hand in a way of, what are you laughing for? I knew you were going to laugh. Right, holding the hand in a way that so they don't get lost. That's fine. If you do any of them forgetfully or out of ignorance or forcefully, there's nothing upon him, except for when he kills the animal, they have to sacrifice. If you do any of these intentionally, what's upon them? There's different types. Okay, and what's the difference between the expiation of doing a prohibition and the expiation of missing out an obligation? Like the order is for the one who has intercourse while fasting. Close. If you miss out an obligation, then it's a sacrifice. So I told you that some students, because obviously you have to have a permission to go in, right, to do Hajj. So some students, what they do is that they climb over mountains and whatnot, wearing normal clothes. So please ask them, what are you doing? I'm not doing Hajj. Then once they get in, then they wear the ihram. But they fast the miqat without the clothing. That's an obligation. That person has to do a sacrifice. Okay, that's known as a dam. This is known as fidya. If you do a prohibition, then one of these 4 that we're going to get to, depending on what it is. Okay, if you don't know this difference, you're somebody that shouldn't speak about Hajj. Otherwise, you're going to fawda, and you're going to give rulings which are not correct whatsoever. Okay, so what are these things? So there's a extreme one, right? That's the extreme one. That's one who has intercourse. Okay, what does that person have to do? No, khalas. They have to complete the Hajj and they have to do Hajj again. No, this is the rest of them. I'll start from the right. That's what I was looking from the left. But we'll start from the right. Right. Which one requires no sacrifice? Getting married or marrying someone off, or touching the wife in a intimate way. There's no expiation except for repentance. Giving the same sacrifice as what was killed, that's for killing. The severe expiation is when you have intercourse. Then you have to complete the Hajj and you have to come again. Do Hajj all over again. And for everything else, all of the other things, then you have a choice between fasting 3 days or feeding 6 poor people, eating half a sa', or slaughtering an animal and distributing, or sheep and distributing the meat to people of Mecca. These are the different names of the days of Hajj. You can read them 5 times where you should make Hajj. You make dua for Hajj. You make dua where dua is more likely to be accepted. During Hajj, you can read that in your own time. The description of how to do Hajj, you can read that in your own time, it's quite long. Yeah, but how to do Hajj from beginning to end. So right, everything we've taken. So you remember I said in Salah, similar, where we took all the conditions, obligations, and then we took the description of how to do it from beginning to end. Same thing here. Obviously, when we did the first time, we went through everything. Because this is revision, I'm going through it quickly. Right. Let's have a look at what's left. Right, I'll try to finish the book today. Adorning oneself with Islamic qualities, and the other one is practicing Islamic etiquettes. Basically, these are akhlaq and adab. Akhlaq and adab. Now, what's the difference between akhlaq and adab? Generally, akhlaq and adab are the same thing. When you talk about it generally, these two words, they both translate to etiquettes and mannerisms. But if you want to be a bit more precise, when they mention together, akhlaq is mannerisms, i.e., you know that you're a good person, you smile, and all of that stuff. Whereas when it comes to adab, that's etiquettes of how to do an action, etiquettes of sleeping, etiquettes of eating, etiquettes of entering the masjid and being in the masjid, and so on. So like that. It's quite straightforward. Most of these things you can look, being truthful, honest, and so on. And each one could be a whole lecture in of themselves, but you can just read them yourselves for now. Warning from shirk and other sins. This mentions some of the major sins that there are: shirk, worship besides Allah, magic, killing, and so on that Allah has prohibited. And so these are 7 mentioned in that famous hadith. And then he mentioned some others: breaking the family ties, taking their wealth, spilling people's blood, taking false oaths, and so on. Most of that is straightforward. And now we come to the last thing, which is regarding preparing the dead body and praying and the burial. So what do you do? The first one talks about before the person dies. It's recommended that you remind them to say La ilaha illallah. And the ulama say don't say it too much. Why? Because if he's not saying it, then don't say it so much that he's going to hate you for saying it. Right? You say it once, khalas. Or can't remember, maybe they're allowed 3 times, can't remember right now. And that's it. Right? You remind them, and after say it, alhamdulillah, don't overdo it. Because it could lead for them to saying something like be quiet or something, and then if they're saying that there's somebody who's telling them to say La ilaha illallah, then that's a really dangerous situation. After that, once the death is confirmed, you close the eyes and you tighten the beard as the sunnah. You wash their body apart from those who die in battle. Then they are not washed, or you pray upon them, you just bury them like that. How to wash the dead body? So, we have a long one, but I'll try to summarize. Is that so the body is there naked, apart from the private parts. You cover the private parts. Obviously, the rest of the body, you're not going to have clothes, otherwise you can't wash it. And what you do is that you slightly raise the person, so his head or his back, you slightly raise them, so that stomach comes up, and then you push on the stomach. If there's anything left in the stomach, that all comes out. Okay? Then you wash. Or the one washing the body wraps a cloth to his hand and washes the body. So when you wash the body, they put something around his hand. So you don't wash the body with your own hand, you put something around it. Yeah. Then you make wudu for that person. So how do you do wudu? Hands, mouth, face, arms, like wudu. Yeah. And this, if you're gonna need to realize it's the same as the way we did the ghusl. Yeah. Then his head and beard is washed with water and sidr or something similar to it. Consider as a nice smell and so on. Then he washes his right side, then he washes his left side 3 times. Each time passing by his stomach, just to make sure that nothing is left. Anything comes out, you wash it. Then one blocks the passage with a piece of cotton or something similar to it. What it means by passage is the nose and stuff like that. Yeah. No. If 3 times isn't enough, then you can do more. Then you apply scent to certain parts of the body, armpits and so on. And it's better if you can do it to the whole body. If the mustache and nails are long, you can do them, but it's not really recommended a lot. Why? Just in case you end up hitting the skin or something. And it comes in the hadith that the dead person feels the pain just as a person alive feels the pain as well. Obviously, you don't cut anything, private parts or anything like that. And the woman's hair is braided into 3 parts. Shrouding the dead. Now, the man the best is 3 cloths. So you put 3 cloths, and then you close the first one, and then you put the second one and the third one, like that. No shirt or turban. It's fine if the person has clothing on. The woman should be done in 5 cloths: a long shirt, a head cover, a waist strap, and 2 pieces of cloth that are on her body. The small boy can be 1 to 3. A small girl in 1 long shirt and 2 pieces of cloth. The obligation for everyone is 1 piece. So minimum is 1. Minimum is 1, and this is better. Obviously, the woman has more because you should cover her body, so that no one can see, the figure of her body. However, if the deceased is if they're in a state of ihram, then do you put perfume and stuff on them, and do you cover their head or anything like that? No, because ihram, all that stuff is not allowed, so you don't do that. Number 6, who has the most right to wash the body and lead the prayer and bury? It's whoever the deceased says. If he says, I want this guy to lead my prayer, that person should be leading the prayer. If not, then it's the father, and then the grandfather, and then the closest relatives. Is a wife allowed to wash the husband and vice versa? It's allowed, because Ali radiallahu anh washed Fatima radiallahu anha. And but this is important. Why? Because I believe Hanafis don't. They say it's not allowed. They say once you die, khalas, the relationship finishes. She's like ajnabiyya. She's foreign to you now, which obviously is incorrect. How to pray? Okay, that's long. I'll just summarize it. Look, so janazah is very easy. You say Allahu Akbar how many times? 4 times, right? And after the first time, you recite Surah Fatiha, right? And you say Allah, and you recite short surah after that. Then you say Allahu Akbar, send salah upon the Prophet ﷺ, and you say Allahu Akbar, you make dua for the one deceased, and you say Allahu Akbar, and you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. That's it. So 4 times, right? I like how Muhammadi Qasim, he explains. He says there are 3 rights: the rights of Allah, the rights of the Prophet ﷺ, and the rights of the one who has passed away, right? The rights of Allah is reciting Surah Fatiha and the Quran. Then the rights of the Prophet is saying salah upon him. The rights of the deceased is you make dua for them. Right, so try to memorize the du'as. The shortest one, the authentic one that I can remember is Allahumma ighfir lana wa li hayyina wa mayyitina wa shahidina wa ghaibina wa saghirina wa kabirina wa dhakrina wa unthana. And then Allahumma hayyita minna fa hayya islam wa tawhida minna fa tawa'ala al-iman. That's it. Yeah. Then there's other ones, Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'afi wa'afu anhu till the end, and then there's others as well. Everyone should know a minimum of 1. Everyone should know a minimum of 1. How do you bury the deceased? That is, the sunnah is to dig up the grave until the waist of the man, and to have so you have the grave, and inside the grave is sunnah to have another little hole on the side, right? It's called lahad, right? So you go in and then you put them into that hole over there that you've made, not into just the hole, the grave like that, but in there, and then into that lahad that you have that you have made. That's a summary of it. And then once they're buried, you make dua for them. If you miss the janazah, you can't pray the janazah by yourself later. It's allowed. 10th is very important, right? This is now, how do you mourn, basically? It's not allowed for the family of the deceased to make food for the people. What happens now? People come and the family are the ones sorting out food and giving food to everyone. That's not allowed. It should be the other way around, right? The Shaykh mentions adillah for that. If somebody gives them food, then that's fine. And if you can gift food, you can invite others. No. Mourning is only for 3 days. What's the period of mourning? 3 days. But for the woman, if her husband passes away, then it's 4 months and 10 days. And this is something it's called in Arabic and fiqh is called hidad. I think it's called hidad. Hidad is basically the mourning period for the woman. And she is not allowed in that mourning period to beautify herself, dress up, even go out of the house if there's no need. Or she's got a job and she has to take care of herself or something like that, then yeah, obviously, otherwise she can't live. But without a need, she shouldn't leave the house or adorn herself and so on. Number 12, it's recommended generally for the men to go to the graveyard, remind yourself of the akhirah, make dua for those who have passed away, and these are some of the du'as. Assalamu alaikum ahla diyari qawm al-mu'minin wa inna inshaAllah bikum lahiqun nas'allahu lana wa lakum al-afiyah. As for the women, and the Shaykh here mentions that it's not allowed, and that's generally was acted upon in Saudi. There's khilaf, because here it says curse of the women that frequently visit the grave. So one is going to come inshallah, this particular hadith in Kitab al-Tawheed inshallah. One narration says Za'irat al-Qubur, that Allah la'an Allah Za'irat al-Qubur, that Allah has cursed the women that visit the graves. But there's another narration that says Zawarat al-Qubur, those that frequently visit the graves again and again and again and again. That is what women shouldn't do. As for every now and again, what seems to be correct, wallahu alam, that is permissible. Why? Even the wording of this hadith that they used to say that it's not permissible says frequently. Alhamdulillah, the translation is good here. Frequently visit. And number 2, Aisha radiallahu anha, she asked that if we go to the graves, what dua she would say, and the Prophet taught her the dua. He didn't say, no, you shouldn't go. She asked, what dua should I say if I go to the grave? And the Prophet taught her, showing that it'd be permissible. And the reason it's not allowed for the women to go frequently, wallahu alam, the hikmah behind it is because they're generally more emotional, so it can lead to them doing actions which are impermissible, like overcrying and actions of jahiliyyah, wailing and things like that, wallahu alam. And with extra benefit, ruling of visiting the graves, Islamic visiting, you're allowed to go to remember the akhirah and to make dua for the dead, not to the dead, for. To the dead is shirk. That which is an innovation, you go to the graveyard and you make that a place to worship Allah. So you go to the graveyard not to make dua for them, but you make your dua for yourself, like you make normal dua or you pray your salah or whatever. I'm going to go do that in the graveyard. That's an innovation. Why are you going to go to the graveyard for? Right? Khalas. And at that, alhamdulillah, we finished the book. I know today was a bit longer. No, it's the same time. Right? Alhamdulillah. I know it's a bit quicker, he could say, in some parts, and they want questions. Because we've taken the book. It's not time for questions, it's time for revision. Inshallah, next book is Arba'in Nawiyah. I don't think we can do that in one sitting. I'm not going to go into the depth that I went in the lessons. I will summarize a lot. The whole point of the revision is just to go through the main points. Right? Not to go through everything in detail. That's for you guys to watch the recordings and so on. And more detail, inshallah, will come in level 2, bismillahi ta'ala. So, alhamdulillah, we'll finish here today. Thursday, I know they've announced, right? They just sent you out saying that there's football on Thursday. Put your hand up if you're actually going to go play football. One student, خلاص, there's class on Thursday, inshallah. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.